Ladies and gentlemen, William Ruto has finally responded to Raila Odinga's call for mass action. And as was expected, the response is actually furious. In this video, I want us to look at William Ruto's response to Raila Odinga's call for mass action. Because personally, I paid very close attention to William Ruto's response. But I noted three things just very briefly before we proceed. The first thing I noted was the tone of William Ruto's speech. The tone was very clear. I don't know what you can conclude from the tone, but for me, I think William Ruto is angry and is appearing as someone who is really disappointed with Raila Odinga. Number two, William Ruto chose a presidential function to respond to Raila Odinga, which begs the question, is William Ruto cornered? Otherwise, why would he choose a presidential function to respond? The other thing I noted was that William Ruto actually rallied the entire Kenya Kwanza brigades to this particular event, and that's where he responded to Raila Odinga in the presence of the entire Kenya Kwanza brigades. So before we proceed, I just want to play for you very briefly William Ruto's speech, just very briefly.
Mambo ya uchaguzi na mambo ya viongozi tulimalizana nayo. Mambo ya saa hii ni mambo ya hawa wananchi. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Tunaelewana? Tunaelewana? Na mimi nataka niwaambie wale ndugu zetu watulize boli. Watulize boli. Tunaelewana? Na wasituuzie uoga. Sisi sio watu wa kuuziwa uoga. Tunaelewana? Kila Mkenya ako na haki katika taifa letu la Kenya. Tunaelewana watu wa Gorogosho na watu wa hapa Ruaraka? Sisi malengo yetu, mpango yetu ni kuhakikisha kwamba Kenya inaenda mbele. Na mimi nataka niwaambie wale majamaa. Tunaelewana? Niwaambie nisiwaambie? Niwaambie nisiwaambie? Nataka niwaambie wale majamaa, nyinyi mlikuwa na miaka 5 ya handshake na mambo yenu. Bei ya unga ikafika shilingi 230. Saa hii tumeteremusha imefika 180. Watupatie nafasi itakuja 140. Watupatie nafasi itakuja 120. Wawache kimbelembele walikuwa na nafasi yao wakaharibu. Mimi nataka niwaambie wale majamaa. Na waambia wale majamaa walituacha na madeni kibao. Karibu nchi yetu iteleze ingie mahali ambapo ya kukwama. Saa hizi tumeanza kupunguza madeni. Katika budget ya mwaka huu tumepunguza bilioni 300 ya madeni. Hata wale walikuwa wametufungia katika masoko ya kitaifa, katika international financial institutions, saa hizi hata interest rate ambayo ilikuwa imefika 17%, saa hizi tumeteremusha imefika less than 10% kwa ile soko ya kimataifa. Mimi nataka niwaambie hawa majamaa, si wanajifanya ati wao ndio majogoo wa Nairobi. Nairobi gani? Nairobi hii ya mto chafu na takataka na mambo ya machafu kama haya. Mimi nataka niwaambie watupatie nafasi, tufakie chafu ya Nairobi, tuondoe matakataka na sewage kwa Nairobi River, tuwaonyeshe vile city ya Nairobi inafaa kukaa, sio ile city wamezoea ya takataka na chafu na sewage. Tunaelewana jameni? Watupatie nafasi, tubadilishe Nairobi. Mtu wa Nairobi asilipe rent miaka yote. Mtu wa Nairobi aanze kulipa mortgage baada ya miaka 15 awe na nyumba hapa Nairobi. Kila mtu awe na nyumba hapa Nairobi. That is the city we...
So William Ruto wants everybody in Nairobi to own a house. And there are people who are actually clapping. But that's besides the point. I want us to do an analysis of that particular speech. You can feel the tone. You can feel that, like, I know most of you Probably you've watched the video. It was a presidential function. The entire Kenya brigades were there. But I observed, I came to these 3 or 4 conclusions. The first thing is that in this particular response, if you ask me, William Ruto understands one thing. He understands that he's currently the president of the Republic of Kenya because of the mountain. And I doubt, if you ask me, whether William Ruto will agree to sit with Raila Odinga. The truth of the matter is that, based on my own understanding, William Ruto, from tomorrow moving forward, is going to create a wedge between Raila and the mountain with the Mandamano thing. Because mass action in the country purportedly normally affects the mountain. That's how it has been created, affects the mountain more than any other tribe. Like, for example, if you were to hold mass action in Nairobi today, the people who will be affected the most will be the mountain. And William Ruto understands that and is going to set Raila Odinga against the mountain. Why is William Ruto going to do that? William Ruto is going to do that because if he were to agree to sit down and have, for example, a handshake with Raila Odinga, that will be the beginning of the end of William Ruto's politics in the mountain. The mountain will dump Ruto the way they dumped Uhuru because of Uhuru working with Raila Odinga. So William Ruto understands that, and therefore all these things Raila Odinga is planning, if they're aimed at handshake, that handshake is not going to happen. For me, that's number 1. Number 2, William Ruto is also keen on sustaining a narrative of handshake failures. You know, William Ruto was the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya between 2013 and 2017. This country went to the dogs between 2013 and 2017. When looting was the order of the day, for example, William Ruto was hiring his vehicles to NTSA. Overborrowing happened during that particular time. But successfully, William Ruto managed to heap the blame on the handshake. And William Ruto is keen on sustaining that particular narrative, that we are where we are today because of the handshake. And sometimes I pity Raila Odinga, and I wonder whether he has real advisors. Because, for example, why is it difficult for Raila Odinga to make it very clear to William Ruto that he should now focus on what he promised Kenyans, not what Uhuru or the handshake failed? But William Ruto is clearly on a mission of sustaining the narrative of the handshake failures. The other thing I'm getting from this is that William Ruto is not going to accept anything to do with Kenya Kwanza failures. Moving forward, William Ruto is even going to invest on PR firms just to ensure that Kenya Kwanza is projected as a successful government. You know, how do you explain a president telling his listeners that each one of them will own a house? Something he knows will not happen. Because even if the houses were to be available, how many Kenyans will afford to pay mortgage? And of course, you also understand that when William Ruto took over, the first thing he did was to remove the subsidy. And clearly, William Ruto evaded the issue of subsidies. Then, apart from the subsidies, which they removed, which increased the cost of most commodities, they also went for more taxes. And these are what Raila Odinga is trying to say, but they're not coming out from Raila Odinga. And in fact, I was telling some of my friends that for me, I pity Raila Odinga. For example, Raila Odinga was making some statements here. I don't know whether I can get them because I don't want to edit this video. Okay. Listen to moja tu ya rais ni watu 13. Ingine 13. Okay, listen. Piga ni hiyo itakuwa kando kwanza. Ati sisi wale ambao walipiga kura ndio watakuwa mbele huko. Na sio ni kama mzaha wanafanya namna hiyo.
Ukiangalia baraza ya mawaziri wameweka Wakamba wawili, Waluhya si wawili, Mjaluo moja, Pwani wawili, kule kwa kabila moja watu 5, wengine watu 9. Yaani kwa baraza ya mawaziri ya watu 24, 14 natoka kwa kabila mbili peke yake. Ukienda kwa upande ile ya permanent secretaries ambayo inaitwa principal secretaries, 51 kabila moja tu ya rais ni watu 13, wengine 13, 26 ni kabila mbili. Kabila ingine ambayo inabaki wanagawa ile ambayo imebaki.
Now, for example, I was saying, I pity Raila Odinga because his messaging is not coming out clearly. Like, for example, what he's trying to explain there is basically what is called tribal dominance, where 2 tribes are taking majority of appointments. The rest wanakula zile mabakio. And you know, Rigathi Gachagua even lamented the same over the weekend. And today he came out as if he was trying to defend it, that is now the face of UDA, while Ruto will be dealing with the face of Kenya. But the fact is, William Ruto is really trying to hide Kenya Kwanza failures. And the other thing which is also very important is that from this William Ruto's response to Raila Odinga, something is also coming clear, that William Ruto actually understands Raila Odinga's game plan. And for me, Raila Odinga's game plan can only be 2. Number 1 is to force the handshake, which Raila Odinga is saying, we are not going to do that. We are not interested in handshake. If you want, please give it to someone else. So let us say Raila Odinga is not keen on handshake. What is his other game plan? That is what William Ruto understands, that the game plan is basically to do to him what he did to Uhuru Kenyatta, which takes us to the last point, trying to avoid Uhuru Kenyatta's mistake. You know, after the handshake, Uhuru Kenyatta made several mistakes. William Ruto went early campaigns, he never bothered to respond. William Ruto would say things, like you see what Raila Odinga is trying to say now, but Ruto is responding. For Uhuru, Ruto would say them, because Uhuru was president, Ruto was outside there. Ruto would say them, Uhuru will remain silent. Ruto would say them, Uhuru will remain silent. Within time, Ruto's gospel actually became the truth. And William Ruto is not willing to fall for that particular trap, which means he's going to respond to any issue which Raila Odinga is going to bring on the table. I don't know what you think. That's my take. Thank you guys, and may you have a good day. And by the way, I've played those recordings like this because I noted someone was trying to claim some of my videos from those clips which I normally play here. So most of the time now, you'll excuse me, I'll not be playing them. I'll just be recording them so that nobody can claim them. Thank you guys, and may you have a good day. Bye-bye.